Listen, I'm a contrarian, but I'm not quite to that extent. That is a huge thing. That makes a big difference in this league.
Patrick, are you going to tell your grandchildren about Lavonte David?
Welcome back to Ahead of the Chains. I'm Patrick Seifert, joined by Mike DeFrancisco. Weather is getting nicer where I am in New York, but it feels like the conversations around the NFL aren't heating up just as much as the weather, sadly. I mean, we're over here talking about like Ty Simpson all of a sudden being like this top 10 pick. Maybe he's better than Fernando Mendoza. Like, that's the conversation right now, really. When we start doing the entire inflation of a quarterback draft stock, that's when I kind of get like, all right, let's take a step back and reevaluate everything going on. And it always seems to happen every year. Sometimes it actually affects how GMs evaluate these guys. Like, sometimes there's truth to it. Other times it's like Drew Lock, So, yeah, we're at that point where like the draft's coming up, but there hasn't really been a big draft rumor. So now the number one quarterback, who's been far and away the number one quarterback, is he actually the number one, or is the number two quarterback in this draft class everyone is saying sucks at the quarterback position actually the best quarterback? And it's like, no, this is stupid. This is dumb. We're going to talk more about the quarterback class later, but it is that bad. I don't think I'm spoiling anything.
Question the take of Dan Orlovsky. How dare you?
I do. So he says, listen.
How dare you?
I'm all for supporting journalists, and I'm not hating on Orlovsky, but bad takes exist for everyone. You could look into my content. There's definitely a few bad takes. A lot that are coming to my mind.
I think
I'm not
there's a difference between a bad take and a take said for just engagement, and I think that's where this one irks me, because it's so clear that Fernando was the number one quarterback in this draft,
and
we'll talk about it later, but like this all of a sudden like late surge of Ty Simpson being vaulted into the conversation of QB1 reminds me a lot of like JJ McCarthy a couple years ago, where people were like, all of a sudden it felt like after the combine it was like, oh, JJ McCarthy's a top 10 pick. And I'm like, what planet are you living on, right? Like, what are we watching? Did you watch the Michigan Wolverines last year? Like, to me, nothing about him was top 10 pick. And then, like you said, sometimes it comes to fruition. He was a top 10 pick by the Vikings, and he hasn't been that guy. So this is just a weird kind of thing that's going on with Ty Simpson, where it feels like his stock is just skyrocketing. For what reason? I don't really know.
I think it's coming from Orlovsky a little bit more from a place of a reporter than an analyst, or more of an insider than an analyst. And here's the thing that these NFL GMs do with the insiders. They use them as tools. They want to manipulate the rest of the league. They're trying to bait the Jets into drafting Ty Simpson number 2 overall. They're trying to manipulate the playing field so this way Sonny Styles falls a little bit further, just one pick further. Like, that's what's going on here. I don't think it's actually a matter of that, but we'll talk more about Ty Simpson later. They also
have the same agent. Did you see that?
Who?
Dan Orlovsky and Ty Simpson have the same agent.
Oh, okay. Well, there you.
That's
like
that's what
that
I'm
is
saying.
all.
Like, come on,
yeah.
man.
Okay.
Come
so
on.
That's all this comes down to.
Yeah.
He says only two GMs or decision makers said that he isn't actually the number one.
I think the quote was 12 to 15 GMs said he was the best. Bro, shut up.
No, he said like only 2 people got back to him saying that he's wrong. The rest of them didn't respond, I imagine. That's what I think. But again,
his reasoning was also what big game did Fernando Mendoza play in? And to respond to that, I would say, what war did George Washington win? See where the discontent is a little bit there? It doesn't really make sense. But no, we are going to have hopefully a more nuanced conversation about quarterbacks, because
we are. And we're going to talk more than just Ty Simpson versus Fernando Mendoza. If that keeps being the conversation, though, and this isn't just a 1-week fad, we might have to dedicate a segment to that down the line. Yeah. I am just saying that might actually be something we need to do, that would mean I would have to have an argument with the entire NFL media if this is more than a 1-week fad. Like, that's a very bad sign if that's the direction we're looking at.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about our top 7, my top 7 quarterbacks. You're going to compare it to your list of your 7 quarterbacks. And we're going to have more of a conversation about the depth or lack thereof in this quarterback class. But before we get to that, we got to talk about your Seattle Seahawks going ahead and extending a real star player, not Ty Simpson level star player, something far above that. JSN breaks the bank, reinvents the wide receiver market. Tell me a little bit about how you felt looking at that contract.
Joy, euphoria, bliss, eternal optimism, the rainbow to my sunshine. Like, I don't know, any positive metaphors or words you want to describe it, because you look at JSN coming off an offensive player of the year, coming off helping the Seahawks win the Super Bowl. There is no reason not to pay JSN, because with JSN you don't have injury concerns, you don't have character concerns, certainly you don't have production concerns, and the Seahawks want Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and Jaxon Smith-Njigba wants to be a Seahawk. And when those two things, and they're very rare, when those two things marry perfectly, you get a guy who's going to get a contract like this, and nobody, not a single person on planet Earth is going to say this is an overpay, they shouldn't have done this, they did it too early, yada, yada, yada. Everybody's in universal agreement, unless they're probably a Rams fan, that this move was incredibly smart for the Seahawks, and it was an excellent deal for Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I'm telling you, it is so rare that those two things marry perfectly, where you have no concerns about a player whatsoever. And for Seattle to have drafted this guy with pick 20, this is the model that successful teams do. This is what the great organizations in football do. They don't go out and spend all this money in free agency and give this contract to a George Pickens or any of these other guys that are getting free agency. You draft, you develop, you extend. That's the recipe. And so many teams fail at whatever stage of that. Like, Dallas drafts really well, but they don't extend and they don't nurture that relationship going forward. You draft, you develop, you extend. That's a simple formula, and it's worked to perfection with JSN. I don't have any other notes other than this is absolutely a great deal for the Seahawks. It's absolutely a great deal for Jaxon Smith-Njigba. If you look at the totality of his team control left, he has 6 years remaining of control because he has the 4th year plus the 5th year option. Then contract starts in 2027. So basically, he's under contract for 6 more seasons with an average annual value of $32 million a year. He basically signed for 6 more years for $32 million AAV during the course of that time. Right now, you would take that, and in 5 years, when the cap jumps another $50 million, you are certainly taking that. This is an A+ for Seattle. This is an A+ for JSN. I would be pretty shocked if you disagree with the grades for either one of those.
Listen, I'm a contrarian, but I'm not quite to that extent. This is easily a slam dunk. It's a no-brainer. It's been a no-brainer. You have a guy like JSN, who was responsible for nearly half of your receiving yards in a Super Bowl winning season. Yeah, man, you extend him. You tell him, here's a blank check, right? Whatever number you want, we'll give it to you. He has 2 years left on his rookie deal. That means 2 more years where he's getting paid not really a crazy amount of money. By the time he is getting paid $42 million per year, he's probably not going to be the highest paid receiver anymore. Right? Let's be honest. That's just how these things kind of tend to play out.
He might not even hold that crown for this entire offseason.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
Well, exactly. And the salary cap's only going to go up. Only time it went down in recent history was COVID. And yeah. I mean, I'm going to knock on wood because this has a little bit of implications beyond just football. But I don't think something like COVID is coming back up again.
Oh God, I'm knocking on wood too. No, and again, this is like what I say when a guy breaks the bank, when he gets this record-breaking deal, more than Jamar Chase, more than Justin Jefferson, more than CeeDee Lamb, right? He's leapfrogged all of his guys. He's the highest-paid receiver in the history of our league, and he beat Jamar Chase. He actually beat Jamar Chase by a little bit more than I thought he would. I thought he was going to barely get 41 and a half, whatever. He's full at 42, very well deserved. But you have to feel very comfortable on all ends to give a guy like this a contract, to give a guy a contract like this, and I don't feel any doubt that this is going to be great for Seattle. I really don't.
Well, I mean, and how could you not? In a league where it feels like, if you want to have a dynamic passing attack, you got to be 11 personnel all the time. You got to live in that format. But when a receiver is so good that you can live in 12 personnel, 21 personnel, and still have that high caliber passing attack, and the receiver could still put up those numbers with a quarterback that you just brought in. You just brought him in, right? A guy who they brought in through free agency. It's not like this is some MVP quarterback he's playing with. You won the Super Bowl with, Rashid Shaheed's a good player, but it was a one-man army in terms of the receiving game. Like, you had one elite player on the offensive side of the ball. It was JSN, and you won the Super Bowl. That means that player isn't just elite. He's that upper echelon. He is, top 5 player in the sport, that level, right? The question is, and I guess the contract will speak to this, as for Puka Nacua, who is his running mate for this title right here, is JSN the best receiver in football? That's what I want to ask you.
Don't ask me. You know my answer. Before I answer that question, I'm going to deflect. I am going to say the other really great thing about this that I didn't mention yet is they got this contract done before Puka, before Pickens, and before Drake London. All guys in the immediate future who could potentially have reset the market. Seattle did it on their terms. They reset the market. Now the Rams and the Falcons and the Cowboys, or whoever George Pickens ends up with, probably has to match that number or go higher. To answer your question about is JSN the best receiver, I am going to give you an answer that is yes, when you include everything encapsulating with a dynamic receiver. Number 1, quarterback proof. Number 2, production. Number 3, all-around health and sustainability and not vulnerability. That's not the word. Durability is the word I'm looking for. Durability. And the other big thing is how they are as a teammate and how they are off the field. Like, you want to argue with me that Puka Nacua is better on the football field? Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
I know, because that's the one thing, like, if you're going to knock, again, the running mate's Puka. If you're going to knock him, with the recent news.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
And this is even independent of just the recent news. There's been a couple other incidents, like smaller incidents, but where there's spark, there's some fire. I'll say that. If you think they're here, maybe even you think Puka's here, when you consider the type of teammate they are, the type of leader they are, the type of example they set for the organization, JSN puts himself above Puka. So, again, that's why I say all things considered, I would rather – let me throw the question back at you. If you're John Schneider and you're Les Snead, who would you rather have, independent of money, just you want Jaxon Smith-Njigba or you want Puka Nacua? Who do you want? All things considered.
You do bring up a fair point. JSN isn't biting anyone's arm. But
going on live streams and making crude gestures.
Yeah, making certain gestures that he.
Group
you are right. JSN isn't doing anything like that. That being said, though, if we're just looking at the on-field player and the tape, I do give the edge to Puka slightly. Right?
JSN's also more durable. In fairness.
Sure. Okay. In terms of those intangibles, JSN beats him out in every way, which I guess is probably why you would put him ahead. But in terms of just the tape, I would rather have Puka just because he has more elite traits. JSN has the most important elite trait, which is route running. Yeah. That is, I say it all the time, at the receiver position in the modern NFL, running routes is key in the modern league. We see 2019 Michael Thomas. We see 2021 Cooper Kupp. These, top-notch, elite Hall of Fame caliber seasons came from elite route runners and purely elite route runners. Like, Cooper Kupp wasn't insane at anything else. He wasn't an overly big guy. Michael Thomas was really good after the catch.
Yeah.
But, he mainly did it as this great route runner.
Yeah.
And JSN has that, and he's elite at it. He's the best in the league at it. But Puka Nacua is not a slouch in terms of route runner. He's a very good one.
No, he is.
And he has a bigger frame, which
he's better in contested catch situations for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. And I also think, in terms of just playing after the catch, JSN's good because of speed. But who's harder to tackle?
Yeah.
You look at their frames, it's easily Nacua in that sense. And I think Nacua is elite after the catch. I think Nacua is elite in contested catch situations and making catches outside of his frame. I think JSN's good at all this stuff, but not quite elite, right? Not quite.
It does help to have Matthew Stafford. Again, you're
right.
I'll throw that out
there. That is very true. And
that's why it's an interesting conversation, though. It's an interesting conversation.
JSN was also more valuable to his offense. Again, we're talking about 49% of his team's receiving yards.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua had Lavonte Adams on the other side.
Who led the league?
JSN was lucky to get Rashid Shaheed at the trade deadline.
Yep. Who didn't contribute much as a receiver. He was phenomenal as a special teamer. I think he had
Now
290 yards as a receiver for Seattle.
mhm.
Like,
He did always demand safety help over top, but I mean, either
true,
way, every team was
true,
running two high shells
true.
all the time. JSN, I think your intangible argument is hard to beat, though. I think just because of that, and it is a fair argument. Honestly, I was going into this expecting to be saying Puka, but you made a fair point. I think I would go JSN. I do,
So
because
now
the
my question
intangibles,
becomes.
it's completely different.
So now my question becomes, okay, you'd rather have JSN, all things considered. If you're Les Snead and Puka Nakua's agent says we want the JSN contract, are you forking up? But mind you, the important distinction with Puka is that Puka does not have the benefit of a fifth-year option like JSN does, because JSN
Yes.
has his fourth year of his rookie deal, which is this upcoming year, the fifth-year option the following year, and then the 4-year extension. Puka Nakua's extension would start in 2027 because he doesn't have the fifth-year option because he wasn't a first-round pick. So Puka Nakua comes to you. He says, "I want the JSN deal. I want 4 for 170. Same guarantees as JSN. Are you okay? I'm writing the check." Or are you like, I don't know. I got to see this because they kind of got to get something done because he's a free agent after this upcoming year. So what are you doing if you're Les Snead in the Rams?
I think you match JSN. You don't go over. Maybe you give him the little bit of pride and like, oh yeah, we'll pay you 42.1 million just so you beat out JSN. But I don't think you give him like a significant amount more. I don't think you really can.
Do you? And I know the answer is yes, but I guess how concerning is his, let's call him, antics off the field? I mean, now we have
Like, I'll be honest. We're talking about a wide receiver, right?
yes,
I'll tell you this.
yes,
I'll tell you this. Definitely, if I'm the Rams, I'm paying a little bit of money to get him some more media training. That's for
and
sure.
a babysitter maybe, yeah.
Nah, I don't think it's that bad. Like, I'm not gonna say what I do and don't believe, but I mean, this is kind of like boys will be boys, wide receivers will be wide receivers. This is kind of what they do for the most part. The Mike Evans and the Larry Fitzgeralds and the, I guess, JSNs, those are rare. Yep. That doesn't happen. Most of the time, you have an elite receiver, they're going to be going out and, throwing shade at Patrick Mahomes like Jamar Chase does. They're going to be doing some of that stupid stuff, going on a yacht like OBJ. That's just kind of what they do. They're going to be doing everything AJ Brown's
with Aiden Ross, apparently, yeah.
Well, yeah, this is what a modern receiver is. When they're good, they act like it. And it's kind of just what happens. JSN, very good player, got the money he deserves. Now, though, we got to talk about that quarterback draft ranking because, again, it's a strange conversation going on right now. Yeah, it's a interesting QB class. There's no doubting that. And by interesting, I mean just not good. Now, I will say, though, in a draft class where it seems like everyone is talking down the top quarterback, I'm going to be, I guess, the optimist here. I like Fernando Mendoza, and obviously he's my number one. So we're starting the list. Fernando Mendoza, he's my number one.
No Ty Simpson, wow.
Yeah, whoa, can you believe that? I disagree with every NFL insider.
That's going to be a headline in 2
apparently.
weeks if we keep going the way we're going. That's going to be a headline in
I guess, yeah. Patrick Seifer has everyone agreed was the top quarterback for literal months as QB1 instead of Ty Simpson. What? Fernando Mendoza is my number one. I really do think we have to go back a little bit to praising quarterbacks for having high IQ. I really do. I don't understand at what point did we decide like guys can't have elite IQ as a trait. Like we watched a quarterback dominate for 2 decades. 2 decades up here. He wasn't the craziest by throwing the football. He was not the most mobile, but Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls by being the smartest guy on the field every snap. Okay, won 7 Super Bowls. But when was the last time we've been like, oh yeah, this quarterback, he's going high because he's elite up here? When was the last time we thought that? I mean, really, what am I misevaluating? Like,
no, you're not misevaluating. You're not misevaluating. I do think that IQ is an important trait. And it's a trait, we talk about, Caleb Williams at USC was spinning around and whipping the ball down the field, and that's great. And I love Caleb Williams, and we talk about Cam Ward had plays like that at Miami and in Tennessee last year. there is something to be said about quarterback intelligence. I understand it. Having a feel for the game, reading coverages, understanding defensive structure, understanding body language of defenders. Like, that's the thing that Tom Brady talked about all the time. He's like, I'd read the guy's body language. You know what I'm saying? I'd see the DN. He was on the field for 4 straight plays. I knew he didn't have conditioning. I'd run outside zone right at him. Like, those are the type of things that quarterbacks need to be so cerebral about. When I look at Fernando Mendoza, I agree with you 100%. He is the best quarterback in this draft. I think I'm not sold on Fernando Mendoza as this guy's going to save the Raiders franchise. However, I think, and this is a compliment, it sounds like a backhanded compliment, it's a compliment. I think there is a very, very, very low chance that Fernando Mendoza is a bust. Very low. Because when you have his intangibles, when you have his experience, number one, multiple season starter, played at an elite program, which Indiana is now an elite program. I don't know what bizarre world we're living in, but played an elite program, got great coaching, has played in big moments, been a starter for multiple seasons. This guy's played high-level football. He's clearly very bright, clearly very likable, clearly has a passion for football, which is also an underrated trait along with intelligence. I think there's a very low possibility that this guy is a bad quarterback or just can't hack in the NFL. He does not have one bad trait, right? He doesn't have, I would say, a lot of great traits, but he doesn't have one bad trait. He is accurate. He is sort of athletic. He's good size. He's got a good enough arm. Like, all of these things he's good enough in. I personally wonder if he is going to be what we typically see with the ceiling of a number one pick, like a Caleb Williams or even a Cam Ward. I would probably take Cam Ward over Fernando Mendoza, where I don't know that he has the traits, physically speaking, to be one of these upper echelon guys, but I think that he's virtually bust-proof. So, again, backhanded compliment. I'm going to agree with you. I think the ceiling is low, but the floor is really high for Fernando Mendoza.
Here's my thing, right? Am I kind of in agreement this is a weaker number 2 overall pick or number 1 overall pick? Yeah. Like, I agree that this is the weakest number 1 overall pick since Travon Walker, right? And Travon Walker shouldn't have even went number 1. It should have been Aiden Hutchinson, and I also would have had Aiden Hutchinson as a better pick than Fernando Mendoza. So, yeah, I'm in agreement. Like, this guy is not the best player in the class or anything like that. I would definitely rather have Cam Ward, even as a prospect, just out of evaluation. But, like, I think people are kind of underselling it. I really do. Like, Mendoza, again, the elite high IQ, it's a big thing. Seeing a corner as outside leverage and then checking into a slant, that is a huge thing. That makes a big difference in this league, and you'd be surprised by how many young quarterbacks don't do it. Seeing that a team's in a 2-eye safety shell and making a different read because of it, that makes a difference. Being able to read a dagger concept properly and throw the ball with anticipation, not needing to see his receiver open, just knowing that the receiver is going to be open, that is, again, an elite trait. It makes a difference. Mendoza does that stuff at an elite level, and I'm telling you, that will make a difference. But that's not the only good thing about this guy. His ball placement is really top-notch. I mean, really. Not super deep down the field, but I'm talking about like in that short to intermediate range. His ability to get the ball where it needs to go, especially outside the numbers, it is really impressive. And I understand the arm isn't crazy, but you mix great ball placement with a guy that always knows where the ball needs to go, well, I pretty much just said it. He knows where the ball needs to go, and he has the physical ability to put the ball where it needs to go. Mix that with all the intangibles in the world, you're looking at a very good quarterback. And do I think he'll be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow? No. But do I think he'll firmly be top 10 and sitting around where like Dak Prescott is, which isn't just mediocre. That is like, top 8 type of tier. I do think that that's what we're looking at with Fernando Mendoza. I really do. I think we're looking at a guy that's going to firmly be a top 10 quarterback for damn near his whole career.
I think the other impressive thing about Fernando Mendoza that you didn't mention, and maybe this goes with the mental side of things, but toughness. The guy's tough.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Ohio State knocked him on his ass, took a dirty cheap shot, and, trying to knock him off his rhythm, and he just got back up. And actually, if you noticed, watching the game back, he got hit again by the head. Like, he got hit twice. and it just didn't rattle him. He just kept going. Like I said, I don't want to sound like I am like just a Fernando Mendoza hater, but I think if we're not so much in their play styles and their frame and everything, but if we're comparing careers, if you tell me he's going to be Dak Prescott, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Never a top 5. I guess maybe Dak's been a top 5 guy a couple times, but maybe not a consistent top 5 guy. But he's every given year the 8th, 9th best quarterback. I could see that. I could see that being the reality for Fernando Mendoza. Especially because, like I said, his IQ is so high. And you're right, his accuracy is very good, which that is one thing Justin Fields that some super talented quarterbacks just can never really figure out. So,
And
yeah, I'm with you. I like Fernando a decent amount. I don't think that he has the ceiling to reach, the prime of these other guys, right? But I think it's very low possibility that he's going to be a bad player in the NFL.
Yeah, and I also think like there is a conversation about, the reality is the quarterbacks that worked out in this league and are very good in this league, they were all like kind of boomer bust guys that had a lot of elite traits, and that's what made the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the main point I want to make. Mendoza has elite traits. They're just not the elite traits you see in a Mahomes.
They're not physical elite traits.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. His elite traits are up here. And again, that ball placement I do think is elite. But enough about Mendoza. We got to talk about the real number one, apparently. Ty Simpson. He's my number 2. And I will say, like, we kind of clowned on him a lot throughout the show, but I am going to say there is stuff to like about Ty Simpson. He's a good quarterback. He has no business being taken in round 1, but he is a good quarterback. I do like him. There is a lot of the physical stuff that you want to talk about with a Mendoza, but you sadly can't because it isn't elite. It's good, but it's not elite. Ty Simpson does have that stuff at that level, right? He has the very good arm. He has the ability to release the ball at a ton of different ball angles. And he also is a pretty good processor. Like mentally, he does have it. He does have it up here. He reads defense as well. He's able to process post-snap very well. And he manipulates defenders with his eyes. Like I really thought this was going to be a way more raw quarterback. I really did. I thought he was going to lack some of the nuance at the quarterback position. But the eye manipulation, it was something I felt very good about. And the pocket poise, the ability to improvise, and just the confidence while playing the game. I do think having a confident quarterback, it matters a lot in this league because the way guys like Myles Garrett could get pressure on you and just in general, your team's going to lose games in the NFL. It happens. Yeah. Can your quarterback continue to play well in spite of that? I'm not too worried about that with Ty Simpson. And the athleticism, it's a huge plus. It's a huge plus. So, like, those physical things, he checks the boxes, except the size. He's only 6'1". He's 211. That's big. Like, that makes a difference.
Fernando's like 6'5". Yeah.
We see guys like Russell Wilson. Their prime is really nice. But what happens later on in their career? They falter. Kyler Murray.
10-year prime.
Yeah.
Mark that in your count. 10-year prime. Yes. Russell Wilson was also a phenomenal athlete, and Ty Simpson's not
phenomenal
that.
athlete. He's a very good athlete. Maybe not what Russell Wilson was. You are right. But like Kyler Murray made a lot of good plays, but later on in the season, he started to kind of slow down because physically he couldn't take the hits. Ty Simpson is going to stand there. He's going to take hits in the pocket, and he's going to try and maneuver. But physically, he's going to take a toll because he is a smaller guy. And yeah, while I do think the arm's very good, a fireball means nothing if you're not going to hit the receiver. And the accuracy is an issue with Ty Simpson. And sometimes the decision-making, I do think he'll feel himself a little bit too much in the pocket, right? He'll be under pressure and he'll be like, okay, I'm just going to fire this thing. And all of a sudden it's in a defender's hands. Like some of the decision-making is very bad. And it's so funny. It's like the anti-Fernando Mendoza as I look through my notes here. I mentioned how Mendoza is so good at just anticipating a guy open. He doesn't have to see it. Ty Simpson doesn't do that. He needs to see a receiver open, and that's a big difference. It catches up with you at the NFL level. You could get away with it in college, but at the NFL level, that makes a very big difference. He bails on a lot of clean pockets. And again, just some bad decisions with the football. Yeah. I like Ty Simpson because of what his ceiling could be in the same way I liked Jalen Hurts because of what his ceiling could be. But Jalen Hurts went round 2, and he developed into a pretty good quarterback. Ty Simpson, I like taking him in round 2 and developing him. But I don't think the traits are quite good enough where I would take this guy with round 1. round one capital. I like the player. I like the upside, but I don't fall in love with it in ways I fell in love with like Drake May's physical upside.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of things about Ty Simpson, and I'm going to agree with all of them. I think you're missing, though, the biggest red flag about Ty Simpson. Patrick, let me ask you a trivia question, see how much you know ball. Of the quarterbacks in the NFL, and this is a loose definition, of the quarterbacks in the NFL that we would consider good franchise-level quarterbacks, how many of them started less than 30 games in college?
See, so
Well,
this
hold
is
on.
okay.
This is the point.
You want me to just answer it?
Yes.
Very few. I know. It's very
Patrick Mahomes
little.
and it's Josh Allen. Now, let me tell you, they started both about 30 games. Ty Simpson started 15.
Yeah.
15.
No, I get it. I get it that that's a reoccurring theme. But
I mean, it's a pattern
honestly,
over the history of the league. Like, it's not just like this is a trend for a couple of years. This is a pattern of the history of the league. Like, 15 starts in college is pretty concerning in my opinion.
again, I hear it, but I think like if you're good, you're good. And if you're stuck behind Joe Burrow, like what are you gonna do? You have to wait until Joe Burrow retires, right? I get it, or is gone.
I mean,
I know.
Milrow.
Simpson was behind some like
Goat.
Jalen Milrow, but Jalen Milrow was an NFL quarterback, right? He was.
Yes.
And the fact is, the physical ability, like I'm seeing what I'm seeing on film. I am. And what I see is a guy who has all those physical abilities you look for in an NFL starter. Every single physical ability that you look for, he has. It's
also fair to say Alabama this year was horrendous.
Yes.
Like their offense, they were 126th in the nation in rushing. Ryan Williams, their superstar receiver, just disappeared for the half of the season. Ty Simpson started off the year red hot. This guy was QB1 the first few weeks of the season. He was going to win the Heisman Trophy. And as the season went on, it just went down and down, both for Alabama, both for their offense, and for Ty Simpson.
And it goes back to what I said. With the size, you take a physical toll. And
exactly.
That
and they were just passing. They couldn't run the ball, so they were pass.
Yep.
And, he was protected by the best left tackle in the nation, as you pointed out last week, in Caden Proctor. But otherwise, yeah, I had to throw that in there. Otherwise, like, this is not your granddaddy's Alabama Crimson Tide. All right, this is not the Crimson Tide of 5 years ago.
They got 21st
round picks. Yeah, he got thrown into the fire. And so to that regard, like, there's another guy on this list I'm going to defend because of that. But he was not surrounded by a lot of talent. I don't think he was surrounded by good coaching. He was getting his plays called by Ryan Grubb. God bless his soul. Mm-hmm.
But I also want to say, with your start total thing, because I did just think of this, Tom Brady didn't start many games in college.
Back in 1998, but okay.
Yeah, but okay, I could probably think of a lot of other guys in NFL history. Right?
They are the exception. They're the exception.
Are they the exception, or is it not really a rule? Again, I think what you see on film is what tells the story.
Brady had more than 20 at Michigan. I could look that up, but I'm pretty sure he had more than 20 at Michigan.
He was only really a starter in that last year, and even then, he was splitting starts with another guy. I mean, again, I wasn't alive back then, but whatever. I'm just going to move over to number 3 because we took a lot of time on those first two. But I will say those first two are really the only relevant ones. I'm sorry to break it to you. Although my number 3 actually could be fun. Cole Payton, again, we're looking at a huge drop-off here. Everyone from here on out, I'm talking about like 4th-round draft capital. I really do feel that way. But there is something to Cole Payton here. There really is. You want to talk about traits? Cole Payton has traits. And he also has the size. He's 6'3", 232. That's good size. And the arm. Woo! He has a cannon. He has a cannon. And he could put some touch on it. He could fire it in there. He could get velocity on it. The ball placement is really good. And I also think pocket poise. Great. So he checks a lot of those boxes while also being a really nice athlete who's going to lower the shoulder and run through you. But some of the nuances of the quarterback position, he lacks. He really does. He's not a good decision maker. He doesn't really time the throws well. I think his eye manipulation is some of the worst in the class. Like, it's really bad. He stares down reads. And overall, he's not a good processor. He needs some time to bake in the oven. He needs some time to develop as a quarterback. I have no doubts about that. Cole Payton, he's a very raw quarterback who needs to develop on the bench for a little bit. But I do think there's a world where Cole Payton, year 3, comes off the bench behind a veteran. Pittsburgh rides with Aaron Rodgers for a little bit. Then in comes Cole Payton in year 3. He's been developing on the bench, and he's lighting it up. I could absolutely see that. What's your thought? Cole Payton, number 3 on my list.
Tim Tebow. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna throw Tim Tebow. But if we're talking about Cole Payton as number 3 on any list, that means our list doesn't have.
I just said I'm looking at 4th round capital for Cole Payton.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it would be a good 4th round pick for some teams.
I mean,
you let him develop. He has the traits.
Like, sure. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't see anything. I see a burly guy who doesn't know how to play quarterback. And, like, do you want to – like, I mean, like, seriously.
But
it's
he
kind of
physically can. And that's
I mean, he's a brick.
Thing.
Like, you want to put him at – you know what? You want to put him in Wildcat at the goal line. I'm for it. You know, whatever.
He could fire the ball, though. And I don't think he's incredibly inaccurate.
To the right guy? Like to the right guy?
Because he's not a good decision maker. But it's not like he's really inaccurate.
His mechanics aren't super good either.
That's true. But he comes from NDSU. Listen, you're taking a quarterback out of NDSU. You're going to let him develop. You're not expecting them to come in year
you don't
one,
take him with the 3rd overall pick and trade 3 first-rounders for him.
No, you wouldn't do that. And if you do, I mean, you're going to see some bad results exactly like the 49ers.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to the Super Bowl 2 years after that. But, we can
not
move on.
With him.
Not with him. Cole Payton. I'm sorry. Like, I can't. I'm looking at our list. I'm just laughing, bro. These guys are so bad. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't give up the professional facade.
So my number 4, Grant Nussmeier, isn't gonna really change the tone here.
No way. Garrett Nussmeier, number 4. And like, I'm not laughing at you because I think Garrett Nussmeier at 4 is like a fine ranking. I'd have him a little bit lower, but like it's a fine ranking. It's just the fact that Garrett Nussmeier is number 4. People are looking at this draft class and they're like, man, this draft class is horrible. And like, I would be like, there's some good players here and there. There's some, and then they're like, well, what about the quarterbacks? And I'm like, you got me. Hands in the air. You got me.
Yeah,
if you need a quarterback, man.
It's not a good quarterback.
Next year's supposed to be good. So, next year
next year's supposed to be good until everyone decides to stay in college again. People were saying this draft class was supposed to be good because at one point, Cade Klubnik was supposed to be this great quarterback. He's not even on my list.
Yeah, Drew Aller was going to take over the world.
Drew Aller. Spoilers, Drew Aller is not on my list either. Sorry.
And he's on my list, but we were talking before we pressed record. I'm not mad that he's not on your list. Like, I'm not going to press you at all. Like, sure.
I don't care how
do you want to sort the mud?
Well, I don't care how well you could throw the football if you can't throw it to a receiver. He's so inaccurate.
He can throw 100, but he's hitting like the back fence. It's like, bro, great pitch. 20 feet down, it would have been a strike. That would have been awesome, man.
That is my entire assessment of Drew Aller right there.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about the next guy on your list because I think he is the most Madden-generated, both in name and in actual play style. Carson Beck. Carson Beck plays like a computer simulation. And I mean that derogatorily. We're just
skipping over Nussmeier entirely? I get it that
defend your Nussmeier take. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He has a good release. I do think he has the ability to get the ball out at multiple different arm angles, which I do think matters a lot in today's league. He throws with anticipation. He times the throws well. He's smart under pressure. Pocket presence, I do like. He moves in the pocket well, and he makes some good, nice off-platform throws. Like his highlights.
His athletic enough.
Garrett Nussmeier, his highlights are actually pretty good. I will say. Like, if you look at just his wow throws, you'd think this guy is like a, first rounder. You really would. The issue is watching an entire LSU game and the film. You start to see, here's a guy who's open for a 5-yard gain and then potentially able to get another 10 yards after it, but then he's just going to float that pass even though it's just 5 yards away. Yeah. And because of that, he gets tackled right after he catches the football,
and
which
one
is
thing
like
that,
the Quinn Ewers thing, and he does.
With some guys like this, you could say, well, if he had good coaching. Well, if there's a coach that's going to unlock him. His dad is the quarterback's coach for the Saints. So if he ain't doing it, who the hell else is going to do it? So that's why
last year's film was really bad. Like, when film takes a step down, that's concerning.
And I get LSU, like, same thing with LSU and Alabama. Like, this ain't your daddy's LSU. Like, I get it. But it was bad regardless of that. So
yeah, it was. And he also gets really overconfident in his arm, which is very hit and miss. Mm-hmm. I think when his mechanics are good, the arm actually does look pretty good, but they're not often very good, which is, again,
Yeah.
Like your dad's a quarterback coach. Why are the mechanics an issue? I thought I was at least going to see clean film here, but instead I don't at all. And then you have the exact opposite as my number 5 in Carson Beck, who is like, the film's very clean, but show me one play that leaves me even remotely excited for you to be an NFL player.
You didn't like the bubble screen to Malachi Tony, dude? What are you talking about? You didn't
Which one?
Yeah, right. The 40 they ran in the national championship game. They're like, man, we have the best athlete in the country. Let's give him the ball in the national championship game. I only figured that out 3 quarters in. Carson Beck, I mean, I just said it like, I mean this in a derogatory way. He's like a computer simulation. Like if you told the computer to play Madden, 0 creativity, 0 risk taking, 0 elite traits, just throw the ball. You know, he does a decent job of playing in structure, and so I think that gives him a floor that is higher than probably the majority of guys on this list, with the exception of our first 2. With that being said, dude, I think the ceiling is so low. Like give me like you said,
he's a backup. And he'll never be.
Show me one play that you're like, wow, what a throw by Carson Beck, or wow, he really extended that play, or what, like doing something outside of the structure of the offense, what he's supposed to do, what Mario Cristobal in the headset told him to do before the play started. I don't see it. And in the NFL, like you have to have traits, you have to have creativity, you have to have an ability to make plays. Can't be your only trait, and we've seen some guys run into that trouble. But Carson Beck, to me, like his arm is, I would say, a little bit below average, but average. Yeah. His athleticism is, I would say, slightly below average. His accuracy is good enough. Like he's big. He's a big kid. Like you like that, obviously, but
Davis Mills is the absolute that's the best case scenario.
Davis Mills with a smaller neck.
It's the best case scenario because Davis Mills is a really good backup.
This is the most backup quarterback that is ever backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay. This guy, exactly. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, Carson Beck, man.
Kind of the complete
number 5.
opposite, though.
Like, we're talking about a guy with no ceiling as the 5th best quarterback in the class.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
The next guy
is a draft class, man.
Kind
It
of
really is one of the draft classes.
But
at least my next 2 guys, like, I think most likely we see them in the UFL in a few years. But there's a world where these guys are like actually really good. And that's why they're my number 6 and number 7. Because like their ceiling is crazy high. Like it really is. Their ceiling is actually really high here.
Yeah.
Taylon Green is my number 6. And my number 7 is Baron Morton. Right?
Yeah.
Taylon Green.
Monster.
You talked about Cole Payton like he was Taylon Green earlier. You want to talk about just a wildcat quarterback?
Taylon Green's a better athlete, though. Like, much better athlete.
Yeah, well, but he's also way worse at, like, playing quarterback.
Yeah, that's why he's not on my list, but yes. When the combine happened. Yeah, when the combine happened and, like, he put up these ridiculous numbers, I was like, who the hell is this guy? And I was thinking, like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to, like, find my draft crush. Like, this guy killed the combine. He ran, like, 4.34, whatever it was. He's 6'5". I'm like, oh, my gosh. And I'm watching him. I'm like, yo, he's ass. Like, straight up. He's so bad. And, like, he like, the way he throws the ball, it looks like his body's, like, fighting against him to throw the ball. His accuracy, I mean, like, you look at, like, some of the plays.
Imagine if he was in Nussmeier's family, though. If he was the one that was raised with the QB coach.
Well, clearly his that didn't do anything for him, so maybe not.
No, well, yeah. Okay. No, we're throwing shots at all these guys.
We are. No, but Taylon Green, like, he has a sky-high ceiling. This guy could be like Lamar Jackson.
Because he has an arm. His arm is
He's got a great arm. He's fast. Yep. He's tall. He's big and strong.
It's just you need to rework every single mental aspect.
Everything about playing quarterback, this guy needs to fix.
Every mental part of it. But every physical box, he does check. He does. Like, he has an arm, but mechanics, complete rework of the mechanics. Has no idea how to read the field. Like,
I'll tell you, watch the film. He looks like when he's throwing the ball, like, you want, everything to be in sync with your body. His shoulder, like, looks like he's, like, fighting against him to throw the ball. It's like, it's almost like a guy throwing, like, a shot put. Like, it doesn't look good coming out of his hand at all. At least with Anthony Richardson, who I know some people have been comping him to. Anthony Richardson looked like a thrower of the football. Like, that man could zip it. And I still believe in him. He is going to be a Hall of Famer. But the thing with Taylon Green is that, like, he's just not a thrower of the football naturally. Like, and that just restricts me a lot from really getting getting hyped about him as a prospect. So
I think that's entirely true. But there is something about he gets into the open field. He could take it 90 yards to the house.
Oh yeah.
Like and I think in this QB class, in this class specifically, that alone is worth a top 7 ranking. Like that, and there's also something to be said about like you could draft him as a quarterback and then he sucks, and then you put him at a different position. You know, you can't do that with Carson Beck.
Terrell Pryor was the 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, you can't do that with Carson Beck. You know, you're not doing that with, you know, Cade Klubnik or Drew Aller. You know, like, so Taylon Green, I put him here just because of the elite mobility, the change of direction. Like, it is crazy. Some of the best I've seen in a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
But now my other guy, Baron Morton, just really quick. Texas Tech had the worst offense out of any guy on this list. Texas Tech's offense was terrible. There was so little for him to work with. And I know people talk like he has a bad arm. I liked his arm. I thought Baron Morton had a good arm. Does he make some head-scratching decisions? Yeah, but, man, I mean, if you're looking for a guy that lives and dies by the gunslinger mentality, you get that in Baron Morton. You really do, and he's someone who's going to extend plays well for you. He's tough. He's tough. I mean, he played through a major injury last year, and the athleticism, it is really impressive. Throws the ball multiple different arm angles. I mean, we've seen what some great arm strength can do. It can make up for a lot of flaws in your game. And trust me, he has a lot of flaws in his game. He bails out of the clean pockets. He does everything that makes me cringe while watching film, from the terrible decision-making to the staring down his receivers, not being able to anticipate them open. But, again, there is a world where he becomes that quarterback that 1 week throws 5 touchdowns, and then the next week throws 3 interceptions. And, you know, you can make a career out of that. Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick. Or, you know, if I really want to get ballsy with my number 7 quarterback, look at Brett Favre. You know, like, you can
Brett
make
Starve?
Sorry. Brett Favre, I said.
I said, no, can I call him Brett Starve?
Like, yeah, man, I'm just trying to bring some optimism back. Like, these are NFL players.
No, we're switching roles. I'm being the hater now. I don't
blame you, though. Like, there's a lot to hate.
Yeah, no.
With all these guys, there's a lot to hate.
No.
There is.
No.
But yeah, that's my top 7 quarterbacks. Like, I like 3 of these guys.
Yeah. I like 1.5, and I don't even like the 1 that much.
No, I do actually like Ty Simpson. I like Ty Simpson. I like Fernando Mendoza a lot. I actually like him a lot. And I think Cole Payton is actually a fun project. I think he could be good. And then Taylon Green is a really fun football player. Whatever position he has.
Taylon Green, I'm with Taylon Green. I can ride that. I could ride. I can whatever the quarterback version of I could fix her is for us guys out there, it's Taylon Green. Okay.
It's the same way you talk about Anthony Richardson. Okay. Now that I did the Anthony Richardson shot, we should move on with the general NFL media conversation seeming to heavily decline in IQ. I can't help but feel like I have to bring some of that IQ back myself. So we're talking X's and O's today. I want to do an X's and O's segment. Mike knows I love my X's and O's. And we're going to mix that a little bit with the draft. A lot of star players in this draft. And I want to talk about how they might get utilized, because there's a lot of unique players here. A lot of unique guys. Defensive players is mainly what we're going to focus on today. We're going to talk more about this before the draft. We're going to do this a few more times. Arvell Reese is the first guy I want to talk about. Standout player, very good. But we saw recently in a pro day, lacking some bend, it seems like. Do we think linebacker, edge rusher? He played all over that defense. So what role do you think he plays here? Do you think he might play both?
Yeah, my only issue, I guess, with him playing linebacker is twofold. Number one, I don't think that he can, but I don't know that you want him necessarily playing sideline to sideline, covering receivers, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's the strength of his game. Now, I know he hasn't done it as often as you would like, but I think the strength of his game is still being an edge rusher. He's probably going to be a little bit raw, like I said, because he doesn't have that experience. But A, if you would prefer him at one position, it would be edge rusher. And B, I don't know that he has the coverage, the lateral quickness to consistently defend guys that we see all the time line up in the slot, line up at tight end, who are now some freak athletes. So for me, I will certainly say that Arvell Reese is going to be an edge rusher. Again, it is a more valuable position, and if he goes where we think he's going to go, which is number 2 to the Jets, I'm certain that they're going to try their best to make him work at edge. So I don't think that this is some like, you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, et cetera, et cetera. I do think that this is a guy who can be a very good edge. We just haven't seen it at high volume yet at Ohio State. What he did play, he was very good. But again, I don't know that you want him playing Mike linebacker and having all the responsibilities associated with that. You want him to kind of pin his ears back and go kill your quarterback. Go kill the other team's quarterback, not your quarterback.
Now,
important distinction there at the end.
I do think, like, you put him at linebacker, he's going to be really good for you. He does lack some of that stuff you want to see as a coverage guy, although the change of direction of the open field, it did look really good. It did. On film, like, he showed some top-notch change of direction. He has the speed. Like, I think this is a linebacker. I almost trust him more in man coverage than I do in zone. I really do feel that way. And I know there's not that many of those. Yeah, I know there's not that many of those, but I do think he's the type of athlete where, like, you could do that. And then, of course, sending him on blitzes. Like, in an Aaron Glenn defense, I do think Arvell Reese would actually fit really well as a linebacker. But, again, they need the edge rusher, and I think he has more of an impact on the game at edge rusher. But I think there's certain plays where you want him at linebacker. So, like, let's say you're on a goal line situation, right? You need to get a tackle. You're in a 4-3 defense. I want Arvell Reese playing Sam. I really do. I want him being that strong side linebacker. And I want him saying, I'm staring at the fullback. Where the fullback goes, I follow. And when I see him hit a gap, I'm lowering my shoulder and I'm single-handedly blowing the play out. Because I do think this guy is like a strong side linebacker. I said it with him as an edge rusher, and I'll say it with him as an off-ball linebacker when we go over that position. His play strength is some of the best I've ever seen in terms of pound for pound. Like, a guy that's 240 should not be effortlessly moving guys the way I've seen him do it. And I do think the change of direction, even if he bites on play action, he's quickly going to get back in place. He could quickly go from his run fit to his coverage responsibility. Like, I do really trust him in that way. Let's say he does line up an edge rusher, though. 3-4 scheme, 4-3 scheme. How do you maximize him? What do you think?
What do the Jets run? Not that this is the answer to your question, but what
Aaron Glenn is traditionally more of a 4-3 guy.
I'd probably like him as a 3-4 guy.
I agree.
I'd probably like him as a 3-4 guy.
Like,
he would almost like that. And I know he's bigger, but almost like when I think of like 3-4 guy, I think of like a Dwight Freeney type of guy who could play some outside linebacker, could get inside
and drop back in coverage a little bit.
Could drop back in coverage. Another guy, Jonathan Babineau. That's a fucking niche pull for you guys out there. But yeah, I just had to flex my knowledge real quick there. No big deal. But I do think of him as a 3-4 guy. You could that's I think maybe the best mix of what we're talking about, where you want him primarily impacting the game as a edge rusher, as a pass rusher, but on occasion could drop back, on 3rd and 4, could leak out, stop a quick hit route, could stop a hitch route, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd probably lean 3-4. That would be my answer to that.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on this, really. I think Arvell Reese, if he is going to be a full-time edge, 3-4 is most ideal. I do think he could play in a 4-3. You get him some weight, all of a sudden he's moving like 330-pound guys with one arm, right? Like, if he gets put in a 4-3 scheme and they ask him to gain weight, oh my God.
Yeah.
He would have some crazy
every
highlights.
Play. Yeah,
like, guys are like our most unstoppable bull rush you'll ever see. If this guy has to go up to like 270 pounds,
I'm not saying he's going to be this good because he's one of the best pass rushers of our generation. It would be like Khalil Mack almost, where he just sticks the forearm out and just moves you backwards. Like, do you remember that play he did against Tristan Wirfs, like where he just stuck the forearm and like threw him to the ground. Like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of strength we might be talking about here with Arvell Reese.
Exactly. Yeah. But right now, he's being nerfed by playing at 240.
Yeah.
And he still is going to bull rush every player he can, and he's going to win. But I do think you kind of get the best of both worlds with him as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Because I do think, again, capable coverage guy, if he's a 3-4 outside linebacker and you got a tight end on his side, all of a sudden that tight end has to be thinking, if I block, Arvell Reese is coming after me. And he's going to probably bulldoze me.
Yep.
If I go out on a route, Arvell Reese, well, I wonder, is his responsibility going to be to cover me in man coverage? And if so, can I really get open on this? Yeah. I mean, Arvell Reese is faster than most of these tight ends.
Yeah.
And he has better change of direction ability than most of them, in all honesty. So, yeah, I think Arvell Reese, he could play 3-4 outside linebacker. And then if he gains weight and plays 4-3, it'll be really fun to see that. I don't think it'll work quite as well, but I do think it'll be fun to see some of those highlights. And I want to talk about one alternate possibility here. Arvell Reese playing the original Micah Parsons role, where it's some edge, some off-ball linebacker. You see that happening here?
No, I don't, because I think the biggest gripe you can have about him as a prospect right now is his lack of experience at, edge rusher. And if you're trying to acclimate, I think you kind of do have to pick a lane to a certain degree, where at least at the very minimum, he's like 80-20 edge rusher, outside linebacker.
But if it never affected his game in college,
what makes you different though? College and pro.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how it killed
Will Campbell. Yeah.
Isaiah Simmons.
Isaiah Simmons. So
he sucked in the NFL because he didn't have a true position. But maybe Arvell Reese is such a freak athlete, it doesn't matter. Maybe he just could be that.
The 1% of all NFL players, if that's the case. But
he does test in the 1%. And we saw Micah Parsons.
So did Anthony Richardson. I'm throwing it back at you. How about that? I think the key for him is development. I think you want to invest in his development. You want to get him as good as possible in one spot. I think this constant moving back and forth, not letting him get his feet wet at one spot, I don't think that would be good for his progression as a player going forward, honestly. I see that's what the Jets are going to do. Hell, they'll probably play him at free safety week 1. I don't know that that's the best thing for him and the future of his career.
I know Jonathan Gannon's gone, but if the Cardinals are running a similar defense to what they ran last year, Arvell Reese as a all over the place kind of star or jack, whatever, that'd be awesome. In that defense where like Budda Baker is this everywhere type of chess piece, and you have guys that could play on the edge like Josh Sweat. I mean, that'd be awesome to see. I want to see him in a positionless defense. Let's say the Giants with Denard Wilson go Arvell. Let's say he falls to 5 and they go with him. I know he's not going to line up at edge a lot, but again, he's this unique chess piece where, hey, maybe he lines up over the center this play. Maybe the next play he just plays off-ball linebacker. Like, I think that'd be really cool to see. I'm just throwing out different possibilities here where he plays more of the chess piece role, but now we move on. Caleb Downs, I want to talk about a little bit here. Another Ohio State guy, I know, but he's a chess piece. Once again, we talk about Arvell Reese's kind of a ability to play everywhere. How do we stand on Caleb Downs?
I absolutely love Caleb Downs. I absolutely love Caleb Downs. I think that you want to talk about Fernando Mendoza and his intelligence and his awareness. Copy and paste that and put it on Caleb Downs. This guy is so smart, so cerebral. You look at some of the athletes in the recent years that have been dominant in, their beginning of their career. Nike Minwari, Kyle Hamilton, going back a few years, Derwin James, all guys that were phenomenal athletes. I don't know that he's that echelon of athlete that they are, which is why you might not want him, matched up against. You're not going to probably put him in man coverage against maybe a Trey McBride on a consistent basis. But I think Caleb Downs is a guy who you want to put in almost like a robber type of role. Like, I don't think you want this guy playing deep safety, center field, don't let anything past you. You got to get this guy closer to the ball.
Although he has done that, and that's kind of the main thing.
But that's not what
he has experience everywhere. Exactly. So it just becomes a little bit more of a question, and I guess this is more of what I want to ask here. Do you want to put him where he is maximized, or do you want to put him where he adds the most value to your team?
I think that's an interesting question. And I'm gonna cheat and say I think by maximizing him, you are giving him the most value to your team.
Yes,
I,
I
I
agree.
I think I think by playing him, like I said, in that kind of
Box safety. Yep,
robber
that type
role
of.
where he doesn't necessarily have an assignment. Like the entire field's his assignment, but also none of it's his assignment. And what I mean by that is he is going to by the pre-snap motion, by the pre-snap formation, seeing recognizing plays from film. He's gonna know, hey, I think the ball's going here. Hey, I think they're throwing that RPO. Hey, I think that they're running the draw play. I want him reading and reacting as much as possible. I don't want him stuck in center field 20 yards away from where the ball carrier's at. I want him by the
Mhm.
line of scrimmage. Now, do I want him like blitzing the A gap on a consistent basis? No, he's a little small, but I want him near and around the line of scrimmage to cause havoc around plays. I don't know that this is a guy, like I said, who's a Niki Manwari who is just a physical freak athlete and he can do everything.
Mhm.
He can run with Puka and he can tackle Derrick Henry. Like, I don't know that that's the exact guy, but this is a guy who's his awareness and his emotional intelligence. He's maybe a mature guy. I don't know. His football intelligence is so sky high that he's going to be able to read and react. And by putting him in that robber role, in that box safety ish role, you're maximizing what your defense can do because then you can put your other safety who's not as good. You can say, hey, you play center field and don't let anything pass you, and it just opens up what you're going to be able to do for your defense, maximizes all 11 guys in your field. So I think yes, to cheat, I'm going to say you play him where he's best at, and that'll maximize your defense.
So I agree with you in the sense of that's where he's best, right? And we saw that in college, right? With him as a box safety, he's a guy who could disengage with blocks easily. He's shown some nice ability to play in the box and also play coverage out of the box. I mean, covering tight ends, covering slot receivers, he could do that. However, I do kind of have some question about, well, how much are box safeties really being used? Even Buda Baker was used as a third high safety, right? Like Buda Baker, as much as we consider him a box safety, he has a box safety skill set, but he was a third safety. Like that's what they used him as. And then he would kind of play all over the field from there, rotating all over the place post snap. But we don't really see the traditional box safeties or robber safeties anymore. So I want to pitch my idea, and it's a very unique angle here. You tell me where you stand. But Caleb Downs as a will linebacker. So you still have the two high safeties because that's the difference, right? You talk about Caleb Downs as a robber safety. Well, then you only have one high safety. Teams live in two high safety now. The best defenses, that's what
Yes.
they do. So you can't really do that. I say maybe you rock him as a will linebacker
I think he's too
here.
small to play linebacker though.
But he has the skills, though. And this is what the NFL has become. We're seeing tight ends get smaller and smaller, tight ends getting more athletic and more athletic. We're seeing slot receivers get smaller and smaller. We're seeing slot receivers get more and more athletic. Why don't we see that evolution with linebackers?
Because
Right.
linemen are not getting smaller and smaller.
But
That's the
if he's
piece.
able to shed blocks the way that he has, you see what I'm saying? Like, as the game evolves on one
I'm gonna
side,
disagree. I see what
the
you're saying, but
defense
I'm
should be
still gonna
evolving in
disagree
its own way.
because that was the and hindsight's 2020. We know he wouldn't have worked at any position, but that was kind of the argument with like, oh, when the Seahawks traded for Jamal Adams, they're like, man, play him at will linebacker, and it's like he's too
But
small.
Jamal Adams, he was burnt at that. Like, he couldn't
Well,
change directions anymore. Like, he
when they got
couldn't
him, he
do the
wasn't
stuff.
burned. He got cost 2 first-round picks. I digress. We won the Super Bowl. I can't complain about that anymore. What I'm saying is, is that I just don't know that he has the size to play will linebacker because you're right. He can shed blocks pretty well in college. What happens when
Yeah.
Trent Williams is running at him on crack toss? All of
But
a sudden,
I
he's
just
getting put
think
10 feet in the dirt.
now the game is evolving in a way where, like, I talk about it all the time, but this is how the pendulum is shifting. I'm telling you, next offseason, I'm going to be obsessed with something else going on in
You're
terms
gonna
of
be
that
obsessed with
season.
a 215-pound D tackle. I can
Yeah,
already tell.
I don't know what it's going to be, but
Right.
something is going to, the pendulum shift always fascinates me because when the pendulum shifts one way, it always shifts back, right? And what am I talking about? I might sound insane to you if you don't know what I'm referring to. I'm talking about how offenses and defenses evolve. Defenses evolved with the two high shell. Offenses now shifted the pendulum their way with the heavier personnel and running that.
You want Caleb Downs at will linebacker with 3 tight ends on the field?
Well, here's my thing, right? If you have Caleb Downs as your will linebacker, you are suddenly fine running base to match 12 personnel, right? Instead of trying to match it with nickel because you're worried about these tight ends and how athletic they are, right? Instead of trying to match it with that, you're able to match it with base, which is what offenses want you to do. Offenses want you to match their 12 personnel and their 21 personnel with base because that's when they're going to beat you with their athletic tight end, because now you have an extra linebacker on the field instead of a nickel corner, and then your tight end is burning your strong side linebacker that you just have there to defend the run, right? Well, now you're able to run base, or you're able to run, your base defense to match this 12 personnel or this 21 personnel. You're able to now match that with base personnel because your will linebacker has no problem going stride for stride with that tight end. Your Mike linebacker, I'm saying maybe the will is the Mike, and now the Mike is the Sam. So overall, your linebacker core just got smaller and faster. I know what you're saying. Yeah, linebackers your offensive linemen are going to bulldoze those linebackers. But at the same time, we're seeing some lines just get lighter too. I do think suddenly athleticism is becoming more of a priority. I think this is how you rock. I think instead of trying to play nickel against it, you have these bigger guys out there, and now you're matching it with base. And offenses think they can pass on base, but your linebackers are so athletic, you have no trouble going stride for stride with those tight ends. I think this is how the pendulum shifts back, and it starts with the box safety being the new will, with guys like Caleb Downs.
Interesting. I can't say I agree. I appreciate your analysis, but I can't say I agree with that.
Okay. I agree with kind of the Robert thing being his best role. I just don't know. Now, maybe you do the Jonathan Gannon 3 safety defense. You're running a nickel package, but it's actually 3 safeties. So it's like big nickel, but even then they're not. He's not lined up in the slot. He's lined up as a third high safety.
I think the strategy for that is just draft a safety who's 6'3", like 210, runs 4.4, and goes to South Carolina. Those guys just seem to be like the new, like, because Nick Emanwari, they played him at Sam linebacker. Like he was playing Sam backer, and he was doing fine, but he's much bigger, stronger, faster. So I think that there's a gap in the frame there. But we got one more topic to broach here before we end this episode, and that is about an actual linebacker, not a guy who could or should play linebacker, and that's Lavonte David. So this past week, Lavonte David announced his retirement from the NFL. He was drafted in 2012. And, Patrick, there's been a lot of discussions, I think, not only in the micro, but in the macro, on being, wow, it feels like all of these, long-time tenured Buccaneers are leaving and or retiring, Mike Evans being the other notable exception. And B, people are starting to have, like a player of Lavonte David's caliber should when they retire, is this guy a Hall of Famer? Is this guy going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? He's kind of in that linebacker era as Bobby Wagner, Luke Kuechly, lasted longer than both of those guys. Well, I guess Bobby Wagner's still going, but dear God, I hope he's not for much longer. That's how bad he's been, and subconsciously in my brain, I want Bobby Wagner to retire. But he's kind of in that era, like the post Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman era of linebackers. But I got to ask you straight up, yes or no? You don't get to cheat on questions like I do. Is Lavonte David a Hall of Famer?
I don't need to cheat. My answer is yes. He is. I think if you're looking at the past decades, so not 2010 to 2020, I'm talking about 2026 to 2016. Bobby Wagner is probably the best linebacker in football. Who's second? Who's the second best linebacker from that era?
Fred Warner, but...
Fred Warner. Okay, fine. Fred Warner.
Roquan Smith I'd probably put above.
No, I would not put Roquan Smith above Lavonte.
Well, Roquan had a few really good years, but
this is where we're in a different place here, right?
Yeah.
Fred Warner, sure, fine, I'm with you. Lavonte David, I think, is right there. You also have to keep in mind, right? And this is what I think the big thing is. I think the Hall of Fame should be about telling a story. Now, I know people don't like to hear that. They think it should just be the best of the best. No. The Hall of Fame should be able to tell the story of the league. when I'm telling the story of the NFL and all these Super Bowl champions, what names come up? And when we talk about that 2020 Buccaneers team, well, Tom Brady, of course, is going to be mentioned. Rob Gronkowski is important. But I do think it's important to have guys that purely represent this Super Bowl, right? You know Tom Brady for a bunch of other stuff. You know Rob Gronkowski for a bunch of other stuff. But Lavonte David, well, he was the guy for that defensive unit, right? And it's not like Shaquille Barrett, who only had like a 3-year prime, right? It's not like Devin White, who really just had a 2-year prime.
Yeah.
Lavonte David was great for a long period of time. So when I ask you, who represented that Todd Bowles defense that was excellent and made Patrick Mahomes, I gave him nightmares, gave this quarterback that we have praised since the day he became the starter, and rightfully so, Patrick Mahomes is spectacular. The defense that gave him the most trouble in his big Super Bowl loss, right? In this game where he was playing against the GOAT for the GOAT title, the defense that really shut him down, who was the star player for that defense? Again, I know there were guys with short primes, like I said, Devin White. There were some good corners there. But Lavonte David was the guy, okay? And I do think because of that, and because of the longevity, I do think longevity plays a role in all this. This guy should be a Hall of Famer. He has a ring, and it was a damn good one. Again, beating Patrick Mahomes is no small task. Lavonte David, man, this ring is a big reason why. But, I mean, how many linebackers are we talking about making the Hall of Fame, right? From the 2015 to 2026 window. I think Bobby Wagner makes it. I think Luke Kuechly makes it. He retired during that window.
I already did, but yes.
Well, yeah, and he deserves to.
Yes, he did, yeah.
I think Lavonte David is the next guy up. Fred Warner probably too. And then that's probably the 4.
So I'm going to push back. I don't think Lavonte David is a Hall of Famer. And it's for a couple of reasons. I am a Hall of Fame purist, okay? I believe that
I'm going to say something, but it would start an entire argument. I want to say something so bad, but it would cause an entirely different rant.
Does it rhyme with Devin Bester? Yeah, I know you're about to start.
Yes,
we're not getting into that today because you're wrong. But when I think of the Hall of Fame, I think of the very, very best players in the history of football. Players that changed the game, players that we will tell our grandchildren about. Patrick, are you going to tell your grandchildren about Lavonte David? I don't think so.
Well.
He said, well.
Super Bowl. This is, again, my thing. This is why the Super Bowl is such an important thing. When I talk to my kids about everything, I think at a certain point, depending on how long the conversation is, I'm going to talk about how there was a small period in the league of super teams, right? And those super teams started with veteran quarterbacks getting traded. And I think Lavonte David standing out as the one guy that had a long, or one of the two guys, because Mike Evans was also part of it, one of the two guys who had a long prime with the Buccaneers on that team, I do think that makes him stand out, and I do think that that's a notable thing. If he didn't win a Super Bowl, I'm with you 100%. But because of that Super Bowl and the significance of it being the Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady face-off in the big game, and him playing the way he did in that game, and that defense playing the way it did in that game, I do think there is something to say about all of that. And I do think, as a result, if that conversation is long enough, yes, I think Lavonte David's name gets brought up.
So I will never bring up Lavonte David to my grandchildren, just to make that clear. No, and like I said, I think that we're talking about the very, very best and or people that changed the game forever.
But David doesn't. Or are you talking about LC Greenwood to your kids? Or no, you didn't watch LC.
Well, LC Greenwood was before my time. So
okay,
no.
But you understand certain guys are going to get
Hall of Famer.
In there.
I will talk to my kids about every Hall of Famer that played in my football watching time. Yes, I will.
So far, but in a few in a few years, when we're looking at some guys making it that are, in all honesty, like they're good, but are they really like story of the league? The fact is, and it's already happened, there are a lot of guys that are making it to the Hall of Fame from the 90s, from the 80s, that aren't essential parts of NFL history. And that standard has already been set.
Who?
I just mentioned one. LC Greenwood, love him. He was part of a great defense, but he was like the 8th best player on that defense. of the Pittsburgh
Well, the
Steelers.
85 Bears have about 5 or 6 Hall of Famers, but they're the most iconic defense ever. So, my point is I don't know that Lavonte David had an excellent career. I'm not making any bones about this. The guy was a one-time first-team All-Pro, a two-time second-team All-Pro. Is that Hall of Fame linebacker numbers to you? Now, I know Bobby Wagner 100% is a Hall of Famer. Luke Kuechly is a Hall of Famer. He's in the Hall of Fame as we currently speak.
Yeah, and he deserves to be.
Is Lavonte David in the tier as those two guys? I don't think so. And I know Bobby Wagner's a little tainted because the last 3 or 4 years of his career have been turbo dog shit, but I don't think that doesn't take away from what he did earlier in his career. Lavonte David to me is not an impactful enough player in the macro of NFL history to warrant being in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, he's just not. And again, we have to be nuanced. We have to say, yes, he had an excellent career. Yes, he was phenomenal. Yes, he helped the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl, which I agree with you. He was a huge catalyst for. There's a tier or two above that is a Hall of Fame. That is not in and of itself Hall of Famer. Again,
I just again, this is where I stand. The NFL is already
only
set.
5 guys when Bill Belichick is not a first-team Hall of Famer. And I know it's a separate conversation.
Well, no, that's a different thing.
I know, but if
people
there's been
having
guys,
personal agendas.
There have been guys. Reggie Wayne isn't even on the Hall of Fame yet. You know what I mean? And this is
that's because the receiver position is held to a different standard. Do you think
True.
Randy Gardisher, linebacker we're talking about, is that a name that is essential to NFL history? Good linebacker, and he made it to the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying Lavonte David has to be first ballot, second ballot, anything like that.
I didn't
I'm
say
saying he
so.
makes
I
it
said
like 10 years down the line.
Essential to NFL history and or one of the best players at this position ever.
He wasn't one. Randy Gardisher wasn't one of the best positions ever. One of the best linebackers
what was his
ever.
Hall of Fame class inductee? When was he elected?
He was elected or inducted in 2024. So very far after, but he still got in. Lavonte David, I'm not saying, well, but he's already in. And this is my point. The principle has been set. Right? If you're saying reset the Hall of Fame with this very strict guideline, I'm with you. Lavonte David doesn't make it. But the NFL has already set a standard with the Hall of Fame. They already have. That standard is if you're a very good player who really stands out, you don't have to be the best player on earth, but if you're a very good player who stands out in your decade, you make it. And Lavonte David is a standout.
I think the precedent got reset after Eli Manning. Because Eli Manning, as a player, is not a Hall of Famer, but you look at his accomplishments, what he did, beat Brady twice in the Super Bowl, broke up the undefeated Patriots, played in a giant media market in New York, was beloved by all. His brother's a Hall of Famer. His dad's a Hall of Famer. Or, no, I'm sorry. I don't think Archie's a Hall of Famer, but his brother's a Hall of Famer. No. Eli Manning, I think, set the precedent of you need to be one of the best players at your position, which Eli Manning is not.
Eli Manning's going to make it. We're not starting this debate. Oh my Lord,
we're not. We are not. But I'm saying I think Eli Manning is proof that the NFL Hall of Fame committee has been getting stricter, which I agree with because there's a lot of guys from prior decades. Roger Craig just made the Hall of Fame. Roger Craig should have been in the Hall of Fame 20 years ago. Roger Craig's a phenomenal player. He is the original Christian McCaffrey, first 1,000-yard guy ever. He got overshadowed because he played with 20 other Hall of Famers in San Francisco. That's not his fault.
If Eli Manning gets in 5 years, are you going to retract this?
Retract what?
Retract that the NFL has this crazy high principle now.
No, because I think people were slam dunking that Eli was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, well,
which is a distinction from being Hall of Famer to first ballot Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm. And now that distinction has been tarnished by Bill Belichick.
And so now Eli didn't make it on either.
But I'm not talking about Lavonte being first.
He will be a Hall of Famer. That's no question. He will be a Hall of Famer.
And I think Lavonte gets in too. I think he's not first ballot. Not anything close to first ballot. But he makes it because he was a very good player. We might be talking about this in 20 years.
That's what I'm saying. You can't be a very good player and make the Hall of Fame.
I'm saying he was great. He's a top 4 linebacker of this decade, in the last 10 years.
That's fair, but it's like how many linebackers we want to put in 10 linebackers from this decade? I don't know.
Randy Gardisher making it is kind of where I stand with my argument. Like made it because
that's a bad example. I don't agree with that one either.
But he did.
You're right. It happened. I get it.
And that's kind of my thing. The NFL
the Hall
has
of Fame linebackers at my time. The Hall of Fame linebackers at my time: Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, Brian Urlacher, Patrick Willis, Ray Lewis. Like those are guys, the best of the best. Those guys are some of the greatest linebackers ever played.
If the Hall of Fame was a crazy exclusive crew, I would agree. But it isn't, and that's just the principle they set. But we disagree, right? If the Hall of Fame was ran my way, I would agree. Which, man, it sucks. This became like a crapping on Lavonte David thing. I love Lavonte David. He was a hell of a player. All right, hell of a player.
Again, excellent
and
career.
clearly
I don't
you
know that
hate
his
him.
career was to the height of Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Okay. So we disagree on what makes a Hall of Famer. Clearly.
I think we disagree not on Lavonte David. I think we disagree on the qualifications to reach
Sure.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. But
on,
this is all the time that we have for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. We'll see you next time.